Hey, how's it going? This is Luke Stokes. It's Monday, June 24th, and I've got a long post on my thoughts about Hard Fork 21 coming up, and I figured I'll just go ahead and read it to you because it's long and some people like to just listen to audio instead of reading stuff. So here's my attempt at that. And here we go. So this is me, Hard Fork 21. Where does value come from? When it comes to difficult, contentious decisions which impact what people value, it's very important to keep our emotions in check and do our best to argue from first principles. Too often when we disagree, we fall into the trap of thinking someone is either ignorant, immoral, or stupid. There's a great post there if you want to read more on that. And this post is directed at those wanting to have a rational discussion about the coming Hard Fork 21 Steem Blockchain, which is certainly a very contentious decision to be made. I think a good starting point for discussions is figuring out the shared understanding of value itself. Most people haven't really done this in my experience. To say, we should do X because it will make Y more valuable because it improves Z. We have to have better have a clear understanding of what X, Y, and Z are. All the code improvements that we're making are supposed to be about adding value over time. And so Hard Fork 21 makes some claims about how it's going to increase value. So we should start there and really understand what those are. So I can only speak from my personal perspective. So I'm going to refer to a lot of the posts that I've done over the last few years on Steem to kind of give more context from my perspective. So I'm operating under the assumption that you've seen my video on what is financial value. That's this post here. You may have seen it. So I guess, how old is this? Maybe a year or two old. Yeah, last year. And I just kind of go in there and talk through, like, basically in summary, basically financial value is simply shared story we collectively choose to believe. As more people believe a story of value, whether it's like special rocks with holes in them, shells, tally sticks, gold, silver coins, paper, fiat, cryptocurrencies, whatever, as more people believe it, it becomes a reality. There is no intrinsic value, only some stories that are better than others based on specific contexts, which becomes more widely held as shared belief. When it comes to the Steem blockchain, let's sincerely ask what aspects of the chain we value. Is it the purchasing power of the tokens? Is it the decentralized, uncensorable blockchain, which stores plain text and links to media, which can't be completely censored? Is it the relationships we build through interacting with like-minded individuals around the world? I had to figure this stuff out pretty early on myself, and I tried to explain the basics to my friends and family in this video here, which is, again, pretty old. Yeah, this was like 3 years ago. This video is one of my first actually kind of explaining thoughts on why I think this whole system is valuable. And the main point being that Steem is a decentralized social media platform built on blockchain technology, which pays content creators and curators in tokens of real value. So then I tried to explain, okay, well, what is that real value? And where does it come from? The more I dug into it, I realized for me, it came down to relationships, reputation, and rewards. And these three different posts, I definitely think they are worth checking out. Again, they give a lot of context for how I'm making my decisions as a witness and how this whole ecosystem is formulated. This is one of my kind of most profitable posts I ever did, and it really talks about how this system is different than a lot of other systems and how the relationships matter. So it's worth checking out. Also, reputation. I did a little video on that, explaining reputation and why it's important. And then this one too kind of talked about my experience blogging and how that's helped me to be successful on Steem, because a lot of people are asking me about that. So I've got some thoughts in there that might be helpful for you. And so over time, as I was also realizing that the problems with extrinsic motivations along with surrounding my involvement with Steem, so like the whole get paid to post kind of theme, and I had to continue posting because I wanted to do it intrinsically, not because someone was putting a carrot in front of me and giving me a reward. And I had to figure that out for myself, and I think a lot of people that stuck around Steem figured this out as well. And I did it with experiments like this. This is where you can actually hide the dollar symbols on the Steem interface to just like prove to yourself, why are you here? Like, if there was no money, would you still be blogging on Steem? A lot of people wouldn't, and that's fine. But I feel like they're going to be disappointed because of the intrinsic nature of how this motivation works on this blockchain. And again, that's just from my own personal experience, my own perspective, but that's what I discovered, that I'm here not just for the payout rewards, I'm here for many other reasons, although that's a big part of it. So actually, I hid the dollar signs in the interface to focus more on the content and the relationships, and it worked. And I suggest you do the same and use it to find out the foundation of why you're really here. I had to come to grips with the superlinear rewards curve in the beginning and how it was designed to be a lottery where some people got super lucky with big payouts and others got nothing. So that's another post that relates to Hard Fork 21 because we're kind of going back to that. So Hard Fork 21, which we'll get to over here eventually, I promise, brings things back to this approach just a bit from the current linear rewards curve where everyone can get something, even if they are the only ones self-voting on their own content. The next major breakthrough and understanding for me was realizing the Steem blockchain and the Steem token is where the value is, not the Steemit.com front end or Steemit Incorporated or potentially even the content hosted on the chain. This is another one of the posts that I'm quite proud of and I hope you get a chance to read. Steem is not Steemit. Steem is more valuable than Steemit. And I go into this whole explanation of where this value comes from and how it's the, Steemit from a purely financial monetary perspective distributes value because investors and speculators choose to buy the Steem token. Investors and speculators drive the financial value we see here. And this I know will be a tough pill to swallow for authors and curators. Please pause for a moment and read that post. You may have a misunderstanding of my perspective without doing so. At the time that post was written, Steem had a market cap of over $1 billion. Today it's just over 100 million. And where many other tokens have grown in 10x in value, Steem has declined 10x in value. And to me, this is a sign that what we're doing is not working. If we consider financial rewards, and that's the thing that completely supports the token price, that's the thing that is supported by the token price, the financial rewards, as an important part of the value Steem creates for us, then we have to recognize this. To further illustrate this point, I put together some data from 140 weeks of running the exchange transfer report. This here is information about, here, I'll just keep reading here, it explains it a little bit more. In US dollar terms, that's a net amount of $172 million worth of value that people are cashing out of their personal Steem accounts and sending to an exchange without someone else buying the Steem on that exchange and sending it back to a personal account on Steem. There are many caveats to be aware of with this data, so please see the exchange transfer report to better understand the data and the limitations as to what conclusions you can come to with it. But either way, it's a strong indication to me that most people are cashing out Steem they earn, either through early mining, author-curator rewards, Steem Power Inflation, or Witness Pay. And again, if you look at this, it's just brutal. I mean, each week that I've tracked here, people are just sending Steem off to exchanges. And only one example, somebody bought a whole bunch, and later they sold it back to the exchanges. So it's like, what we're doing isn't working as far as promoting the token price. A lot of cryptocurrencies people hold and keep for long-term value, whereas ours they dump on exchanges. And so if you're curious which accounts have been cashing out the most over the past few years, you could check out this post. I actually kind of broke it all down into individual years and then each one of those into individual accounts. So for like 2016, for example, you could look at all the accounts that are moving money around off to exchanges. You can look at 2018. I haven't done 2019 yet, but maybe I will as well. But these are things to keep track of. These are people cashing money out, and we have to figure out why and what can we do to change that, make it more valuable to be part of Steem. So hopefully at this point we've set some foundational definitions relating to value, and we've shown the current system for creating value in Steem has not been working well compared to other cryptocurrencies. Now we have a choice. Do we leave things as is and just celebrate the existing benefits we get from the Steem blockchain? And that, again, goes back to the Steem is not Steemit post, which is, this blockchain's awesome. There's 0 fees, 3-second block confirmation times, energy-efficient DPoS algorithm, built-in on-chain governance, account recovery, which is unique to the Steem blockchain, even as of today, time-lock savings via smart contracts for Steem blockchain dollars and Steem, and also user-friendly wallet addresses, instead of like big, long, complicated hashes. So we have just so much going for us on this blockchain. So should we just focus on that? Or should we consider we can try to change some things to create more value without sacrificing these value adds? So Hard Fork 21 doesn't take anything away from these things that make our chain valuable. And I think, to me, that's what Hard Fork 21 is about. Let's try some stuff. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. Let's not be insane. There have been many, many months of debate about what changes should be made to the system to improve the value here. And here's how Hard Fork 21 deals with many of them. And some of these conversations, again, have been going on for over a year. So the SBS, the Steem Proposal System, or Steem DAO, from the Hard Fork 21 Steem SBS and EIP Explained post, which I highly recommend. This is from the Steem blog. This goes into all the details. It essentially says we see this, it's about decentralization and sustainability and funding valuable projects. Steem Incorporated, in my personal opinion, hasn't done the best job of managing this blockchain. I've mentioned this before in a couple of different pretty, high-profile interactions with them. One was way back when the Steem interface was not working well at all, and I was wrote this post on, is Steem even eating their own dog food? Are they even using the blockchain? Because there were just so many problems at the time. And that was right before, I think it was Steamfest 2, and I went and actually met with the team, and that was a really good, important turning point, I think, for them and for me. And then also too, just more recently, 5 months ago, talking about is Steem centrally controlled and the challenges with how Steem was managing their stake and the leadership there. So I'm glad we've seen some changes since then as well. But pointing out the problems that we have all seen. So another possible solution I also was thinking about is related to running Steem as a DAC. So as you probably know, I've been working with EOS DAC, and this idea that we could use that technology to run the Steem blockchain as a DAC, which would be really exciting. And so these are just some ideas that I've come up with how we could do that. So maybe this is a failure was due to inexperienced centralized leadership. Maybe things will turn around if we decentralize more. I think this is a great step forward for Steem as far as the Steem DAO. I think 10% funding for it to start may be a bit much, and I'd be happy to start with something more like 7% or even lower until we better understand how the funds will be used and what type of projects will be funded. That said, if Hard Fork 21 comes through at 10%, I'm not going to reject it over this one detail. To me, SBS also addresses an interesting question for us all. Who really adds value around here? To me, in a big way, that's the developers who build the tools we use within the ecosystem. If you check out steemprojects.com, you can see what I mean. Actually, let's see where, there it is, steemprojects.com. So these are all these incredible projects that are built on Steem, which is just amazing. Or you can check out Steem Monsters, which you've probably seen, or Steem Engine. This is where the Steem Monsters is creating a reason for people to create accounts, and Steem Engine is creating a situation where people can spend their Steem and support other Steem-related projects through tokenization. If you take a look at tools like Steem Wallet, Chrome Extension, or the Vessel Wallet, developers create a ton of value, and I think we should start rewarding them directly for their efforts, not just through their post talking about what they're building. So that's that part of it. The next part of it of Hard Fork 21 is the Economic Improvement Proposal, the EIP. And you can read all the details about that, improving the economics of Steem, a community proposal. Definitely, again, recommend reading through all of this. It's quite a bit of information, but it's important. This, I think, is where some of the contention is. So I'll just go through these major points one by one. So number one, moving from linear rewards curve to a convergent linear rewards curve. A convergent linear rewards curve would start out super linear, providing minimal gains at first, and smoothly become linear as more votes are made. Users that are interested only in maximizing the return on their Steem power, instead of benefiting the platform through thoughtful curation, often engage in practices such as self-voting or delegation to bid bots. The proposed curve incentives concentration of votes onto fewer pieces of content, which increases the visibility of such counterproductive behavior. Alternatively, users could choose to act more subtly by spreading stake across more but smaller votes at the cost of a suboptimal return. We cannot eliminate such behavior entirely, but we can make it less economically viable. Okay, so to me, the key point here is which increases the visibility of such counterproductive behavior. Keep that in mind as it will come up again. You can learn more about this change here in the reward curve deep dive. This is a great post by Vanderberg, kind of going through the details of exactly how this curve works and why superlinearity versus linear versus what we're doing now, like what it all means and how it impacts the reward distribution. Essentially, linear voting was tried and created more problems than it solved. I was a supporter of trying the linear curve because in the beginning it was exciting to see everyone getting some little bit of reward. Unfortunately, it was too easy to game the system. Instead of going back to what we had before, we're trying something new, and that to me is a good thing. We should get more information which we can continue to iterate with. And from the deep dive, you can see also one problem with this change was that it reduced the incentive to consolidate one stake into a single account, which made it easier for bad actors to divide up their stake and hide their activities. So unfortunately, bad actors is still mostly undefined, or if there is consensus on what bad action looks like, some accounts are too big in terms of Steem power to do anything about it. And so moving on to the next major point that's in this is number 2, increasing the percentage of rewards that are distributed to curators. One of the problems with Steem as it stands is that there is a strong incentive to self-vote. The more rewards are distributed to curators, the less incentive there is to self-vote. At the same time, if curation is improved, then those content creators who are currently submitting great content, which isn't getting seen, should stand to benefit, as that content would be more likely to get unearthed. This, I think, is one of the most contentious aspects of Hard Fork 21. Humans have trouble with loss aversion, and many will see this as, hey, I'm an author, and now I'm losing part of my rewards. That sucks. I'm leaving. And it's possible some quality authors will leave because of this. And I'll argue that, maybe they're here for the wrong reasons, as mentioned above in the Steem It $$ challenge post. It's also possible that we've had many great authors who came here, posted fantastic content, got no notice or rewards whatsoever, and just left. And if those authors might, come back, or others like them might stick around, if eager curators who are now twice as motivated to find them out and promote them actually get some attention and rewards, I think it's at least worth trying, because they might stick around. The current author reward system is too easily gamed, and I don't think changing the rewards curve alone will fix it. So I'm concerned this will create more Steem Power rewards for the bots over time, but I don't know that we can avoid that. I've been trying, for years to get people to stop using bid bots with very little success. You can look here. I did a video about the difference between long-term rational self-interest versus short-term irrational value extraction. And until people start acting in the best interests of themselves and the network, we're going to still see these activities. So definitely check out that post. There's some articles linked in there that include a year-old discussion about a separate reward pool for downvoting, a separate downvote pool, a self-voting, Operation Clean Trending, which is also something that encourages downvoting crappy content on the trending page that use bid bots. And I haven't used this yet today, but the tool is still up, so I assume it still works. So you could actually go in here and use this tool now, and once we get that Hard Fork 21, this tool might become even more useful, or something like it, to be able to use that new downvote power you have to clean up the trending page and make it less profitable for those who spend money on bid bots and don't end up making their money back. Like, that would help people stop using bid bots, right? And then eventually the bid bots become less profitable, and it's a nice beneficial effect. And then finally, the last bit from the EIP is number 3, create a separate downvote pool. Downvotes are a critical component for regulating Steem, but there's no incentive to render them because they are not rewarded. In fact, they cost voting mana, which disincentivizes the use of the downvote. This creates more opportunities for self-voting abuse, as it reduces the likelihood that this behavior will be countered. By adding a small pool for downvotes that is consumed prior to consuming voting mana, users are more free to downvote content as a curation mechanism without losing out on potential rewards themselves. Remember how we talked about, which increases the visibility of such counterproductive behavior before? Well, this is where that comes in again. The only way to have working proof of brain and ensure rewards are distributed to valuable content in a meaningful way, which Steem investors and speculators might respect, is to use our votes effectively. That may include downvoting low value content, which in effect upvotes all the other high value content. I hope we start building easy to use tools to automate some of this voting powers to downvote content others get rewarded for finding. So, I'll leave this project for the community to explore, but if you're interested, please let me know. And I think maybe it would be a good candidate for the SBS project. Basically saying, if there were these really easy tools that you could connect into, and some of your voting power would be used to make Steem better and the content better, I think we should all do that, and I think that would be great. But right now we just don't have easy tools. There are plenty of tools I can use to follow vote or auto vote or all these kind of things, but we don't have a similar tool that I know of for downvotes to actually help with your stake to kind of clean up the content in a way that you trust. So, interesting idea we could explore. Now, could this cause more flag wars? Yes, it could. And we already have accounts like Bernie Sanders and Next Gen Crypto, who flag content based on personal issues with the author and not based on the quality of or the value of the content for the Steem ecosystem. There are many. I'm not just singling him out, but he's an example that he does like me, so he does it to me personally. So it's one I've lived through, and it's frustrating. It's possible this activity could increase actually with Hard Fork 21. It's also possible that it's a real problem we have to solve right now today anyway, regardless of the hard fork. So imagine for a moment, you're a huge multinational brand and you really want to get involved in blockchain technology. You want your content on chain and you want to look at Steem, and you look to Steem as the answer, and you task your marketing team to come up with your first post. And when the CEO goes to look at it on chain, they see this, this post hidden due to low ratings. Not only is that brand never going to use Steem again, but somebody might get fired. It's possible serious brands are already avoiding Steem because of this very issue. I know of a few investors who won't touch Steem because of this. When large accounts can control what content is seen, especially if there's nothing fundamentally low rating about the content other than a personal attack on the author, then there's a big problem related to creating value. Why would they buy Steem and Power Up to promote their content if it will just get downvoted and disappear if some people don't like them? If you see large accounts downvoting content based on personal issues with the author, I encourage you to upvote that content and counter the downvote. Also, I'd like to see us make a change to Condenser, the Steem at front end, which allows like an I'm an adult setting, which doesn't hide downvoted posts and or allows accounts to be whitelisted from being hidden. And maybe that could be like the default setting so that, the content that got downvoted doesn't get hidden right away. So anyway, a lot of people are concerned with this hard fork as far as why are we making all these changes at once? And we seem to have this discussion with every hard fork, so I'm not going to repeat it at length again here, but basically it comes down to this. Every single wallet, exchange, application, payment processor, and service provider that relies on Steem node will have to do a full resync of history every time we make a hard fork change, because these are consensus breaking changes. That means everyone has to agree to them, or else the tools they don't upgrade will just stop working. With our low token value, it's possible some exchanges might consider delisting us instead of putting in time and money to resync their nodes. That means fewer hard forks are better. We don't want to create work for other exchanges and partners that we're integrated with. And so why aren't witnesses taking a cut of rewards? To increase the curation rewards and create the SPS pool, many think that witnesses should also decrease their pay. I'm actually cautiously in favor of this as well, even if it's just 1 or 2%. That said, it's important to remember within DPoS that the security of the chain is directly related to the value of the rewards given to the block producers who secure it. If that value is too low, high quality witnesses will not stick around and it will be easier to attack the chain. That said, I do respect and appreciate Smooth's comment here where he talks about the DPoS chain depends fundamentally on the competence and integrity of its witnesses. Putting that at risk puts the entire system at risk. So if the price of Steem goes down too low and witnesses can't afford to run servers or they just choose not to, the entire value proposition would be at risk for everyone. This is a systemic level risk, which is important to consider. If Hard Fork 21 is adjusted to take some rewards from witnesses, while ideally spending more rewards to back up witnesses to further incentivize more decentralization, I'd be in support of that. As it is, I'm not going to reject this hard fork if the witness pay is just kept as it is. So in summary, I know this has been a long one. Thank you for sticking with it. That's probably way more than you wanted to read anyway, but those are my thoughts so far on Hard Fork 21. I'm going to support it as a consensus witness if I'm still in the top 20 at the time, because I think the value proposition we've created here so far is not working out well compared to other cryptocurrencies, and we should be willing to try things more often and fail fast. If we find these changes are far worse than what we have now, we can and should make new changes. What I'm not a fan of is doing nothing and expecting a different result. That's just crazy. So as always, I'm here for your questions, comments, or concerns. Let me know what you think, but please understand many of these conversations have been going on for more than a year now. Rehashing them again and again without taking any action and trying something is mostly a waste of time, in my opinion. So definitely free to open answer your questions and concerns, but I may end up just sending you links to these discussions that have already taken place. And of course, there's plenty of links already in this post that you could supply, keep you busy for a long time. If you want to see what some of the other consensus witnesses have said about the hard fork, here are some posts below, and I'll try to keep this list updated as more witnesses in the top put out their opinions. I'll probably include some lower witnesses as well, because it's very possible the votes could change closer to the hard fork time and they might get bumped up and become consensus witnesses, so their opinion matters as well. So anyway, that was a whole lot of stuff. Hopefully that was useful to you to read through that long, ridiculously long post, I should say. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Hard Fork 21. I hope they help you kind of understand my thinking there. I hope they're useful for you as you're figuring out your thinking. And again, if you have any questions or concerns, let me know. I'd be happy to answer them. Take care.